In this episode of Teach Me Something, Nick Niehaus attempts to teach our real estate expert, Long Doan, why you should shift as much of your communication as possible to video. Video is quickly becoming one of the most effective communication tools online. Nick is the head trainer and co-founder of Business Video School. He wants to teach real estate agents how to use video in their businesses. Will Long learn something new from Nick? We will find out on this episode of Welcome to Teach Me Something, where our experts have 2 minutes to teach something new. I'm your host, Jesse Zagorski. Meet Long Doan. Long knows a lot about everything, but specifically real estate and leadership. Long has sold thousands of houses, but there's one thing you should know about him. Every day, he is committed to learning something new. And if he doesn't learn something new, he has to read a book for at least 20 minutes. Long loves to learn, but he hates reading books. Well, that's not totally true, but you get the idea. And Long has a short attention span because his brain is always thinking, which is why our contestants only have 2 minutes. Let's see if Long can learn something new on Teach Me Something. We got a great guest coming up now. All right, so Nick from Business Video School, him and Long actually know each other pretty well. And Nick's actually done some trainings with Long. So this is going to be a challenge to see if Nick can teach him something. Before we give you your 2 minutes, we're going to do something a little different. Nick, I just want you to frame up at a high level. Like, what are we talking about at a high level today?
So we're talking about why you should immediately shift as much of your communication as possible to video, because it's way more than just a marketing tool.
Will you captivate Long enough to make him even look at the camera?
I hope, yeah.
I was already starting to take notes.
You're not taking notes. You're texting people. I'm calling you out, man.
Well, maybe he's looking at the screen, not the camera, right? I mean, they're in two different places, right?
Busted. All right.
Hey, we're all friends here. I can bust you.
That's right.
I just figured Nick's got his challenge set up. Okay, so that's at a high level. Anything else you want to add before we start the timer, Nick?
I think that's it. That's what I'm diving in on. Yeah.
All right. Long, I'm sorry I called you out.
That was good, man.
I just know it's going to be a good 2 minutes here. You ready?
That's right.
All right, let's do it. All right, so let's see here, Nick. I'm putting 2 minutes on the timer starting now.
All right, Long. Well, I'm going to convince you why you should be trying to send videos in place of all your other forms of communication starting immediately. Because I think a lot of people were thinking too much about video as a marketing tool. So I want you to think about the human brain for a second. There's a part of your brain called the fusiform gyrus, and its job is to recognize objects. That's all it does.
You had one frickin' job.
There's a part of that brain section called the fusiform face area. It's not the most scientific name, but it's dedicated to recognizing faces. And the only form of digital communication where that part of your brain lights up is video. And in fact, what's happening when someone watches a video of you is their brain is thinking they're having a face-to-face conversation with you. We're not thinking it consciously, but all that non-conscious part of our brain, all those instincts are reacting like we're talking face-to-face. And so what that means is that video is the first form of human communication that gets anywhere near properly simulating face-to-face communication. And face-to-face is the way that we evolved to talk to each other. So there's no other kind of communication we've invented before we invented the ability to speak, many thousands of years ago that has gotten us here. So what I want to encourage you and all the viewers to do is to start thinking. We're often scared of video. We're a little bit intimidated by it, but that's actually because it's a more effective form of communication. The person can hear our voice. They can see our facial expressions. They can listen to our tone. And in fact, that means that people tend to retain 95% of any emotional information in a video versus only 10% through text. So imagine we've probably had some text messages that got misinterpreted in terms of our tone of voice. It cannot happen with video. So it's a better form of communication. They remember more of the information. It allows us to develop what's called a parasocial relationship. And so therefore, don't think of it as just a marketing tool. Think of it as a better way to talk to people. And you're going to see all of the massive impacts that has as a result on your business.
Buzzer of 2 minutes.
I had one in front of me too, so I cheated a little, but.
Well, that's not cheating. That is a true polished professional. Long, I'm going to let you ask questions because I'm just going to stay away. But Nick, that was incredible. Truly. Like I know I learned stuff. All right. What questions do you have, Long?
Well, first of all, it's not Nick's first rodeo, apparently. So he's rehearsed this before. But so Jesse, when we put this out, can you please spell fusiform, whatever he's saying on the screen for those who don't know? So yeah, I agree. Face to face is the highest form of communication, right? The 7-level communication, whatever you talk about. And I think people forget that wasn't it like verbal, nonverbal, tone, all the stuff. You can't see it unless it's face to face, or video is the closest thing. So I agree with that. My question is, because of social media out there with FaceTime, TikTok, whatever, is FaceTime or video, or what's better if you have a choice? Or like live, Facebook Live, FaceTime, that kind of stuff.
So, personally, I think video messaging, this is an area where a lot of people they're not even trying it yet. And it's a sort of a shame, because I think it's the most impactful form of video out there is when you're talking to just one other person, right? So video messaging, it can be pre-recorded, or it could even be like a Zoom call, right? Something like you said, FaceTime, where you're talking to the person. But I think if we all started there and we focused more on how do I communicate one-to-one with just one other person through video, and we just learned how to do all those different forms of video first, the rest of it becomes really natural that way, right? Because then we know how to talk through video. So when I go to post on social to say, oh, how do I make this into a video, is already a natural conversion, right? Because I've been doing it one-on-one with people. So that's where that's what I think is the most important.
Okay. So you got your Marco Polo, you got BombBomb. Those are the few channels that they can use to get video messages out there. Anything else you really love besides some of those?
So Vidyard, Vidyard. So it's a company I heard about a few years ago, but I just recently looked into again. And they actually have a tool now. It works similarly to BombBomb's tool, but it's free. So I know real estate agents love free, so we're always happy to promote free stuff. But you can record your video. You get the little 3-second GIF preview that shows up in the email. You can send a link to both email and text. But that part of their service is totally free. So, hey, I'd recommend checking that one out too.
I've never heard of Vidyard, but I got to jump in here for just a sec, Long. What type of phone do you have? iPhone or Droid, Long?
iPhone.
Nick, what type of phone do you have? iPhone or Droid?
Droid.
Okay. This is where I say, and it's not just the Droid. Like, I make a lot of fun of Droid and Apple. There's that war going on, but there truly is a business reason as a realtor for having an iPhone. I know major teams that require agents on their team, like massive teams, to have an iPhone. Because right now, if Nick and I were to video text with each other, it would suck because I'm on an iPhone, he's on a Droid. If Long and I did it, it worked great.
What to get it, Bat? Open your mind.
The iPhone's got better camera.
Look at this. 1080p, 4K quality, 60 frames per second.
And so when you talk about these services like BombBomb, you're sending links to videos instead of sending a native video in a text message. I think that is a reason from iPhone to iPhone. When it turns blue, iPhone to iPhone, I think that's better than Marco Polo because most people don't check Marco Polo. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think that the iPhone has a much larger market share in the US, so it makes sense to go that route. I have an Android because the rest of our team has an iPhone. So one of us at least has to know how to use Android. But I will say, on the other hand, like my camera is better than their camera. So I'm able to do a little bit more from a creative standpoint, although that gets traded back and forth every couple generations. But yeah, I do agree that, having that sort of peace of mind that at least 70% of the time you text somebody else, they're going to be able to receive that video. It plays into the favor of the iPhone owners because in 70% of the case, you're fine. In my case, about 70% of the time, I'm in bad shape, right? Because you're not going to be able to get my video. So I agree with that thought process.
I love that you took one for the team and had to get a Droid. I mean,
I always had the Android, right? So I was the one coming in. I was, Android, ride or die. And I still have a lot of arguments I'd make for Android from a video perspective. But your point is fair.
No, it's a better piece of technology. Hands down, Droid's a better piece of technology. But from connecting in a sales profession, Long, you're a salesperson.
Right.
I'm a salesperson. I don't care what's a better piece of technology. My clients don't care. They just care if it turns blue or green and if they can watch my videos. Go ahead, Long. You got a couple more questions?
Yes. So I know you teach people how to do business video school. Obviously, I highly recommend people work with you. You probably get this all the time, and I do, especially in the real estate space. Like I think 67%, or 2 every 3 real estate professionals are women. So women, when it comes to video, they always the excuse, I hate how I look and how I sound. What's your advice for them?
Man, that's a tough one, right? I mean, you get a lot of different kinds of advice. And what I would say is, number one, that is just how you look and sound. The camera doesn't really do anything else different to you. I mean, maybe it did 20 years ago, but our cameras are pretty high tech at this point, right? That doesn't really help you get over it though. So that might be true, right? But the way you get over that in my mind is it helps, number one, to remember that no one else cares as much as you do. So like we all, like if you're thinking, I don't like how I look on camera, someone else is not thinking the same thing about you. They're thinking the same thing about themselves, right? So they're not, so we're all on Zoom looking at our own cameras going, oh, I don't, I fixed my hair. We're not doing the same thing to other people. So you got to keep that in mind, right? You're going to care way more than they do. And then that should take some pressure off. And then unfortunately, the only way to really get over that is practice.
There's one other way, Nick, for people to get comfortable on video. Long, this is not just for women, because there's men too that also feel uncomfortable. Join business video school. Seriously. No, but it doesn't have to be business video school. It could be any training program, but learning the skills to build your confidence step by step with someone holding your hand. And business video school just happens to be an incredible platform to walk them. It really is one of the best, if not the best platform I've seen, especially for agents. So I would say you're selling yourself short, Nick. That was what I would tell people. All right.
Well, there you go. Thank you for the plug though.
You are welcome. I will happily plug you because I think it's great. Long, you got one more thing before we.
Yeah. So last thing, I do agree with all you guys. And I tell people all the time, like you said, Nick, just get over it, right? That's how you look, at how you sound, because you want to be authentic. How many times I've gone meet people with a face-to-face, even Zoom, and I get either Google them or seen the picture on the signature line before. I show up, it's like, what do you use, your high school picture? You're 55 now, So just be genuine, I guess is what I would say. And then practice. I totally agree. That's it.
All right, Long, I got to ask you my question. Deep breath. Did you learn something today?
Yes. I don't like how I look and sound, and just get over it.
Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.